Daisies is a 1966 experimental film directed by Vera Titlova. Put into a box, it is a Czechoslovakia new wave comedy drama film. The film begins with a montage of World War clips, presumably from World War II. What is important to remember when viewing this film is the politics of the 1960s, which the opening sequence surely wants to remind us of. The previous two generations of the 1960s youth have experienced a world war each, and the 1960s did not look any more hopeful with the Cold War. Czechoslovakia was taken over by a communist regime in 1948, and as a byproduct, the film movement known as the Czechoslovakia New Wave was born. Daisies is ultimately about two girls, both named Marie, who are trying to understand the meaning of life. In their boredom or perhaps rebellion against a consumer-oriented society, they decide, while sunbathing on a pier in the opening, the world is spoiled, so they may as well be spoiled too, and go bad. Throughout the film, they consume and destroy anything and everything they can. This close reading will break down the mishmash of the flowers and butterflies extract by addressing a few key areas, which are centred around the prevalent themes of femininity, innocence, consumption, and destruction. It was initially banned for an entire year for its supposed endorsement of wastefulness, despite Chitilova's claim the film is meant to criticise its characters and their destructive actions. Czech authorities and government officials denounced it for its shock factor and for having nothing to do with the Republic, socialism, and the ideals of communism. In our contemporary Western world, Daisies, which the director called a philosophical documentary in the form of a farce, is often considered to be a feminist film for its critique of male behaviours and attitudes towards sex, and there is no denying this feminist undercut in our close reading. Despite this, Chitilova did not label herself a feminist or expect the film to be put under the same umbrella. The experimental form is important to consider as it shapes the entire film. Chitilova has stated that the film's themes were closely linked to its form. She said, "The form of the film was really derived from the conceptual basis of the film. Because the concept of the film was destruction, the form became destructive as well."
Constant ticking sound in opening scene sounds like a fast clock, which suggests a human waste of time or take life for granted. Another motive is the use of color. The cinematographer Yaroslav Kotera said, "I wanted to use color concepts to disparage a lot of things. I had no intention whatsoever of arousing an aesthetic impression of beauty. But somewhere early in the game, it turned out that the structure of things with respect to each other created aesthetics, whose results I didn't expect at all. None of those scenes from the film have been manipulated in any way. The film doesn't use old traditional editing like most New Wave films do in one way or another. They are using flowers to help for a smooth transition to the next scene. Flowers represent that it's not only a film about women, it's aggressively about women and all things that are girly. And the research shows that the representation of apples symbolizes the loss of innocence.
Proč nás chcete zkazit? Víte vy vůbec, že jsme ve vývinu?
Jak ve vývinu?
Ginger Marie's flower crown is now on the man's head. Symbolic of a power shift in the scene, it's implied both Maries are superior to the older man as they begin to make a mockery of him. He wears a full suit and pocket square, contrasting the girl's straight dresses and youthful hair and makeup. So this power imbalance seems to be a shocking occurrence, just like the Czechoslovakian feminist movement.
Bílý kapesníček. Náš tatíček by vám dal kapesníček.
The carnival music fills the scene of the lavish restaurant, reiterating how this date is just a game and laugh for the girls. Their mockery of the man continues as brunette Marie childishly sings, Hanky, hanky, big white hanky,
Kapesníček, velký bílý kapesníček.
in an attempt to convince the man of her innocence and naivety. Suddenly, she begins to snip the corner of the pocket square, demoralizing him and again breaking down his power.
Kapesníček, velký bílý kapesníček. Náš taše stará.
Ginger Marie cheekily says, "My daddy would think you're a baddie,"
Náš tatíček by vám dal kapesníček.
in an attempt to seduce the man. He finally becomes aware of the women's ridicule and slaps the crown back on Ginger Marie's head, symbolically shifting the power back to him. The women are seen in this close-up, shoveling sweet cakes into their mouth. Their excessive appetites is a metaphor for their sexual hunger. They have particularly erotic cravings, stating, "yummy meat," while biting down on curved giant pickles and sausages. The purpose of this is to evoke sexual arousal by mimicking the pleasures of a sex act to the man. When doing so, the man's hands cup his face, and the shot is tinted with red, implying his anger and disappointment in the women as they eat like savages, breaking down gender roles as the women are not dainty, polite, or reserved. As the girls farewell the man, he is visibly upset, with tears dramatically streaming down his face in the close-up. But for the women, these are only crocodile tears, because as soon as the man is no longer in eyeline, the girls burst into laughter. Through this sequence, it is clear the women were only involved in the lunch for their own agenda, disregarding the man's feelings only to obtain what they desire, that being food, visiting a nice restaurant, or just to demoralize a powerful man.
Flashing butterflies used in the college shots and also used as props in the bedroom scene represent a deep and powerful representation of life and how the girls are in charge of their lives with men and everything else around them.
A přece si pozemská, i když si tak božská. Ty nejsi z tohoto století. Slyšíš? Julie, prosím tě.
In this scene, the piano man refers to Ginger Marie as Julie. It is implied that she is using a fake name, reiterating how much of the girls' encounters are a fraudulent performance.
Bys nikdy nevstoupila do mého života. Víš?
The man begins standoffish, wishing Ginger Marie had never entered his life. In response, a close-up shot shows Ginger Marie glancing back at the camera, flirtily pulling down her bra straps. This image replicates feelings of the girls eating in the previous scene, as her action's sole purpose is to arouse a sexual desire in the man. In between these shots, the collage of butterfly photos occurs again. Their transition is timed perfectly to the sound of a light, playful and fast-tempo piano, creating suspense for a climactic sex scene.
Z tebe je mi životem trýzeň. Ty nevíš, co to pro mě znamená. Já jsem se do tebe asi
Marie then covers her private areas with framed butterflies, alluding to a more feminine side of her. Unlike the older man in the previous scene, the piano man takes the bait. Attracted to her nudity, he gasps at her sultry performance and quickly undresses. The piano man pinches the butterfly covering Marie's private parts, taking with it her power and exposing her to be more vulnerable. She backs up into the wall and fear floods her expression, as it is clear to the audience that she may have teased him too much as she doesn't actually want to have sex.
Julie.
Není tady někde něco k jídlu? Aspoň trochu marmelády, kdyby bylo.
He begins declaring his love for the girl, only for her to reply asking for food, mirroring the previous encounter.
Náš tatíček by vám dal kapesníček.
It is concreted that the aim of the girls dating these older men is only for self-advancement, through gaining whatever they desire. In addition to this, they slowly break down the power of men, demoralizing, teasing, and depriving them of what they desire, creating an aura of superiority and thus breaking down the patriarchy slowly.
Their childlike laughter reminds viewers of their immaturity and careless outlook on life. While both Maries come across as reckless, stubborn and rebellious in nature, they are not just dummies chucked around by men. Daisies can be interpreted as a critique of the two Maries' behaviour and spoiled approach to the world, or a flipping of the patriarchal order. Off they run down the stairs to their next man, next victim, next adventure. To them, that's fun.